Through this, and we're here with Brad Merritt of 5440, who finally made it here from Kamloops. What's the story and the lateness here?
We came from Calgary actually to Kamloops. We had a little problem with our equipment truck. Had a little accident due to a mechanical problem, and so we had to offload everything into another truck, and now we're here.
Was this last swing just the end of a big major tour, or is this just something warm up? Or?
Yeah, it's that. It's a little swing through Alberta, and it happens that Kamloops is between Alberta and Vancouver, so it just makes a nice little...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Where do you guys play in Edmonton?
We played at the University of Alberta, and Calgary played at Mount Royal College and the University of Calgary.
Oh, right on. I guess the big story with 5440 over the past year was a switch from Warner Music to Sony. Was that pretty traumatic, or was that something that you could see coming?
Oh, yeah, well, it's not, that's kind of old news with us now, as you can imagine. I mean, we're already starting to work on our next record and planning to tour Europe and Australia and Japan, and we really don't think much about that now. But at the time, it was, it weighed on us. It was definitely inevitable after the release of our third record with Warner Brothers, which was Fight for Love, and we found we just weren't getting the attention or support that we thought that our project warranted.
Oh, yeah.
So that necessitated a move to a more sympathetic record company, which Sony's turned out to be. So things are going very well for us.
Oh, yeah, I guess part of the problem was maybe the push of the band in the States.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were signed down there. Canada was a foreign territory. We expected to get some sort of push from Warner Brothers, and it just wasn't coming like we expected. At the same time, we did very well by Warner Brothers in Canada. You know,
Yeah.
achieved gold status and Show Me, and sold, you know, well over 100,000 records. But you know, off to bigger and better things.
How important is that make it a break in the States? Is that you need that to survive as a band?
Not at all, actually. It's still important for us to give it a good try, because we haven't given it an honest effort yet. Yeah. You know, so I'd like to. Phil made this point in the day. Said it'd be nice to, you know, to find out where we stand in the, you know, the world of worlds, the marketplace, as it were. But it's not necessary at all, especially with other markets starting to open up for us. Yeah. The record's released in Australia and doing well, and we're going to Europe in March, and we hope the record will do well there as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're running old news here, old ground here with Dear Dear, which is the last album you guys did.
Well, yeah.
What brought you together with Don Smith?
Well, a number of things. We were aware of his work with Tragically Hip. We liked the sound of both of those first two records that he produced. And we met with members of the Hip, and they suggested him quite strongly, you know, and said that he'd be quite good for us. And as it turns out, they were right. So that's how we got hooked up with Don.
Was it his decision to take you guys down to the States and record in LA, or is that something you guys were looking forward to doing?
Well, it's a bit of both. We've recorded a couple records in Los Angeles and a couple in Vancouver. Each has its various benefits and drawbacks. It just so happens at the time we wanted to do Dear Dear, none of the studios that we wanted to use were available. They were all booked. In Los Angeles, there's always a studio available, and so that's why we went down there.
Oh yeah, and you had a lot of help from Tom Petty and his equipment down there too, I understand.
Well, yeah. Don worked with Tom Petty for years and years and years as an engineer, and is good friends with him. And Tom Petty has this extensive collection of vintage amps and guitars and that kind of thing. And so we had access to that, and we used it extensively. I mean, we pulled out all these old great Ampeg amps and Fender amps, and
right on.
Just had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the songwriting for the album was real strong. Was there a real change in the approach to songwriting for Dear Dear?
Yeah, there was. For one thing, we had a lot of time, so that always helps. The other thing, I think, it was a much more of a synergistic kind of approach. Everyone in the band was involved in every single song, whereas Dear Dear was a combination of band and then some were Phil and Neil. And so I think and then we also, there's a lot of songs to choose from. You know, yeah. In that downtime between the record companies, we actually wrote a lot of songs, so we sort of were able to pick and choose.
Well, how do you guys work out the songs? Does Neil bring stuff in and
that's one way.
It out, or?
Yeah, that's one way. He brings it in, we hammer it out, and the other way is that we hammer it out and then he takes it away and brings it back, and then we hammer it some more. So it's pretty much a group effort. Neil's completely responsible for the lyrics, and has a lot of input into the music as well, of course. But we all help in the music department.
Oh, yeah, and how about videos? How much input do you have into those?
More and more, actually. Videos I always looked upon as being somewhat of a necessary evil. You know, I didn't approach them with a lot of enthusiasm personally. Neil has really embraced the medium recently and got very, very active in picking directors, working with the directors on treatments, setting them back and forth, and actually co-directed "Nice to Love You," and so he's become very, very active in the video field, and yeah, we have as much input as we really want.
I seem to recall seeing Neil behind the camera on Much Music a few times.
Yeah. He actually wasn't much of a behind. That was mostly as a prop. It kind of had some laughs there. But yeah, he did actually. You know, he was very, very active, very involved in those two videos. Less so with Music Man, but certainly with Sheila and Nice to Love You, Neil was very much involved.
Yeah. Are you guys still based in Vancouver?
Yes, Warren, we're still based in Vancouver. Yes.
Any thought of moving away from that area?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have had thoughts, but they've since dissipated. We like it there.
Oh yeah. How do you feel about the Canadian music scene? Is it well, I guess the big thing was with Bryan Adams' big speech this last year, and Neil's open letter to the press. How did you react to that situation?
Well, my sentiments were Neil's sentiments. You know, I can understand Bryan Adams. I think that he was hurt, you know, just by the situation there. That he felt that he should have been considered Canadian, and I think he has a point. But then he went on to say that CanCon didn't serve a purpose and it bred mediocrity, which I took great exception to. You know, he obviously doesn't need the support of CanCon. He's a world-renowned international star, and no matter what he's going to do, whether it be mediocre or not, people are going to pay attention to him. Some artists in Canada aren't so lucky, and therefore CanCon's a nice start for them. So.
Oh yeah, and also a bit of fuss was made over the corporate sponsorship at the Great Canadian Party. How did you guys feel about that whole bit?
Well, feel about that. Neil wore a shirt during that, and I actually wrote it out, came up with the concept there, and it said, "Corporate beer says happy birthday." And I think that's what was happening a lot. You know, was that Molson wanted to get their name involved with that. That's their prerogative, you know, and of course it helps pay the bills and that kind of thing. But you know, the whole thing was just a big party and nothing more. You know.
What did the band think of Neil singing an Ian Tyson song at the Junos last year with Jane Siberry? Was that is that a future plan for Neil to start a duo there?
Well, that was interesting. It was intriguing. I enjoyed it. I got nervous there just watching this whole thing, seeing how it was all going to come together. It was amazing. I thought it was definitely the highlight of the show for me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And the Cashton thing, and Andy Mays from Sky Diggers, and Molly Johnson, and then with the Blue Rodeo guys, I thought it was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think Neil enjoyed that. Yeah. So I don't think it's something he would, he really wants to get involved with. But if it comes his way, I think he would, like to be involved. Yeah.
I want to get into two of the songs off of Dear Dear, specifically.
I have trouble with those words too. You might have noticed.
The song Sheila seemed to got a lot of press and pointed interest. And where did that song come from?
Well, as I was saying before, Neil's responsible for the lyrics. Neil's wife was a social worker for many years, and of course very familiar with I guess the plight of women in society, the plight of women in difficult relationships and abusive relationships, and the song sort of stems from that. It's sort of a woman's reaction and a resolution of this kind of relationship. It can be interpreted in many different ways, but that's where it comes from.
Oh yeah, for sure. And have you had a lot of response to that song from?
Oh, it's so funny because when we did the demo for the song, the record company wasn't very enthusiastic about it. Don Smith kind of went, I don't know, it's like, kind of sounds like, but anyway, as it turns out, and same with our management company, they weren't too excited about it either. And then when we did the song and released it as a single, it was the best received work that we've ever had. So obviously there was something there. It struck some sort of chord, and it's right now it's probably the most popular song that we've ever written.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Besides One Gun.
Yeah, that's in the same kind of category for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I understand the flowers from that were recycled with one of Sarah McLachlan's videos too, so that was sort of neat.
It might very well have been, yeah. I mean, we probably shared the cost on that one.
Yeah. The other song that's really caught my ear on Dear Dear's Music Man, there's a line in there about was a bum music man or something. Is that sort of an autobiographical